What's up to you all? Welcome back to my garage. Today I'll be continuing the disassembly of my 4.6 liter motor from the staying build. The videos posted may seem pretty basic to some. I post these videos and explain as much as I can so that the disassembly of this motor can be understood at the lowest level of experience. If you are new to the channel and like the content, you can follow the disassembly and the rebuild of my motor on my IG at Reapers_garage and the number 3. This information can be found in the description box underneath this video. Today, I will be removing the following parts: the valve covers, which is held down by 8mm bolts, the driver's side has 15 bolts, and the passenger side has 14 bolts. The motor mount, there's one on each side. The driver's side motor mount is held to the block with 4 bolts. I will use a 13mm socket to extract these bolts. The passenger side motor mount is also secured to the block with 4 bolts and 1 hex nut. Again, I will be using a 13mm socket to extract the 4 bolts, and in order to remove the hex nut, I will use a 15mm socket. When removing the passenger side motor mount, I will remove the hex nut first. This hex nut secures a ground cable to the block. After removing this hex nut, I will remove the remaining 4 bolts. My headers, they are long tube headers, one on each side, has 8 bolts holding them in place. I'll use a 13mm socket to extract them. I have to remove all pulleys. The tensioner pulley, held down by 3 bolts using a 13mm socket, I will remove these bolts. The harmonic balancer, held down by 1 18mm bolt, I will also need to use a 3-jaw puller to completely remove the harmonic balancer. The water pump pulley is held down by 4 10mm bolts. After removing the pulley, I will separate the pump from the block by removing 3 13mm bolts. For those who haven't done this before, over time, the pump will become frozen to the block. So in order to separate it, I will use a dead blow hammer. I will also have a bucket close by to catch any remaining coolant. The eye of the pulley is held down by 1 13mm bolt. And finally, I will remove the timing chain cover. For this part, I will definitely be using a punch card. I will be putting all bolts back into their home space. The reason for this is because all the bolts are not the same length. The tools I will be using is listed in the description box. So with that being said, I'm going to get started. So I'm going to start with the driver's side valve cover. Alright, so before completely removing the valve cover, I'll go around and double tap, make sure all bolts is actually loose. Just to give them a slight little wiggle. Grab the front of the valve cover, the rear of the valve cover, slowly rock and lift. Sit this out of the way. Now for the driver's side. Alright, so before lifting, I'm gonna go around and double check, make sure all the bolts is actually out. Give them a slight wiggle. After doing that, I grab from both ends. I grab the valve cover from both ends and wiggle until it's free. It's okay if the gasket comes up with the cover. You just pull it away as you lift. Like that. Alright. After removing both valve covers, what you'll be looking at is your camshafts. On the 4.6 liter motor, you have the setup of a single overhead cam, which means you have one single cam per bank. This is bank 1, this is bank 2. If it was dual overhead cam, you would have 2 camshafts per bank. Alright, so because I have long tube headers, on the passenger side motor mount, I had to change it up a little bit. I'm actually going to have to get to this bolt that you're looking at right now, which is here. That bolt there. I can't access it with a ratchet or my impact due to my long tube headers. So in order to reach that bolt, I'm actually going to have to use a ratcheting wrench to get that bolt off first, and then I can zip the rest of the bolts off. Passenger side motor mount. Driver side motor mount. Alright, so removing the driver's side header. For whatever bolts I can't reach, I'm going to use the 13mm wrench. Side header out. Now for removal of the passenger side header. Side header is complete. Set it to the side and remove the rest of the studs. Now I'm going to remove all of these pulleys. pulley. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and remove the water pump. There's 4 13mm bolts holding it to the motor. After I remove the bolts, I'm going to hit it with the dead blow hammer to separate it from the motor. I did have a bucket to catch any remaining coolant, but none came out of mine. Alright, removal of the timing chain cover. I'll be shifting through the 13, 15, and 18mm socket in order to get this removed. Okay, so in order to actually remove the timing chain cover without marring any surfaces, I'm going to try to use one of these 3 plastic pieces to actually pop it off and find a pry point and then pop it off. We'll see how it goes. First look inside. Timing chain is off, or timing chain cover is off. Alright you all, now that I have removed a few parts, this will complete this episode. Earlier in the video, I mentioned using a punch card for the timing cover bolts because they are all different lengths. Using a punch card helps keep all bolts and studs organized so they can go back into the home they came from. What you are currently looking at is a punch card. If you have enjoyed watching or learned something new, go ahead and hit that like button. You can follow me on my IG at Reapers_Garage and the number 3 to catch any and all updates. Until next time.